Good day, everybody. Here we are with our latest little mustard seed and Lisette. For those of you who live in Clarence, Rockland, you know Anne, because Anne is everywhere. But you don't really know Anne, because you know Anne as the gal who does the expo. You know Anne as the graphic artist, if you've been lucky enough to hire her to do some of your graphic designs and ads. You know Anne as one of the authors, the main instigator of the Clarence Rockland Guide. You might know Anne for some of the activities that she does with her kid, any number of things. But do you really know Anne? Do you really want us to know Anne?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So you live in Bourget now.
Yes, I do.
You always lived there? Are you a local girl?
No, I'm not. Actually, I'm originally from Quebec City.
Uh-huh.
So I've been in Bourget since 2000.
Okay.
I lived in, prior to that, I was in Mississauga. So what brought me to Bourget was a horse. So that's the story behind the move.
Oh, they're powerful creatures, eh? Horses and dogs, they make us go places.
That's it. So
Tell us about this horse.
Name was Princess. I was bored in Mississauga because, you know, I had been there for a few years and there was not much social activities for me there. So I decided to go back to a passion of when I was a kid, which was horseback riding. And I purchased this horse and I started riding in Milton, just outside of Mississauga. So at the time, before I purchased her, I had gone to find a barn and found out that I could somewhat borrow a horse. So I started with that. So I met somebody that had a mare and she was in foal. She was ready to have a baby. So I rode the mare for a little while, but I felt as if I was walking someone else's dog. So I went shopping for the horse and I found Princess. So Princess came over to the barn. I had her in there for a few months. And then she had a big accident. She split her leg open. So I moved her to another barn, and I was a little concerned about, you know, the care, and I just wanted to be close to her. So I started looking for a property to have the horse with me. And as you know, Mississauga and everything in the GTA, the prices were outrageous, still are today. So I expanded my search all the way to the Ottawa area, since I had family, my sisters in Hull. So it took about close to 3 years to find the property in Bourget.
Wow.
So, yeah. So
well, we all know that you're very particular about getting things right. Is this?
Well, it was hard to find, you know, a property to have a horse, you know, it's not, you don't come by that often.
No.
And having something the right size, I didn't want something too big, I didn't want to start a whole stable. So
Famous last words.
yes, so I found 10 acres. So the house was perfect. I had the location was great because I also had access to Highspeed Internet, which was a bonus.
For your job? Because you were
Yes,
already doing
because
graphic design
I
then?
was doing graphic design in Toronto, so I needed still access to the internet. Actually, I misquoted here. It was dial-up at the time when I first arrived. But I was close enough to town that the speed was actually not so bad. So anyway, so I moved in, Princess moved shortly after, and of course I needed a friend for Princess. You don't have just one horse.
Of course.
So I found Ruben. So Ruben came and stayed with us for a little while. And Ruben, unfortunately, was quite pig-headed and wanted things his way. So we've decided that Ruben needed a new home. So it grew, and at some point I had about 4 or 5 of them. And anyways, today I only have 2. So after 19 years on the same property.
Well, they got you here, and
Yes.
they did their job.
That's it.
And who knows what's going to come next? Maybe more horses, maybe different property. But in the meantime, Clarence Rockland got to benefit from your very varied talents.
Thank you.
And your commitment to be part of the community. Where did that come from?
Initially, when I moved here, I really didn't know anybody. Didn't know anyone. And I found some group that were started in Bourget, which was like a little business group. At the time, Jean-François Morin, the priest, was in Bourget. He was a member of that group. And we had so much fun. We were just a group of a few people, and we were trying to get things going in the town. So, yes, I was part of that group for a few years, the few years that it lasted. Then Jean-François moved to the parish in Rockland. So I started being involved, I think, with the municipalities, the Clarence Rockland, with the guide. I think that's the first big thing that I
Seriously,
started.
the guide goes back that far. I
Yes.
thought this was something new.
No,
No.
the guide initially was done by the municipality. There was, I think it was 2003 or somewhere around there. And I was asked to quote on the upcoming guide. So I did, and then that's how I started doing the guide. So I started, I think, in 2006 or somewhere around there, 2005 or so.
So since 2005, you've been going around scouting the community, trying to find interesting things about it
Yes.
to tell the world.
Well, initially
That's
the
a
guide,
lot of scouting.
the guide initially being with the municipality, it was all about the municipality. So we didn't have the interviews that we have now.
Okay.
It was a different format. It was more of the, when's garbage day, all these, the municipal information that's now on the website was initially in that guide. So that was
okay.
pre-website information. So unfortunately, after, I don't know how many years, maybe in 2012 or so, the guide, the current council decided that there was no money anymore for that guide, so we stopped publishing it. And so that led to a few years without having any news or anything from the municipality on that end. And a few years ago, we've decided to test it out and restart it in a new format. Although it's on my own, the municipality is not involved. They're a supporter of it. But we started trying to interview people from the area and present people that normally you wouldn't really hear about. Like, you wouldn't know the background of these people.
That's for sure.
You know them for their business or their involvement in the community, but you don't know where they're from, and that's basically what the guide is all about.
Well, an awful lot of work goes into something like that, and a lot of people don't realize that they just get to read the final product. And having been one of the lucky ones that you interviewed, I found it a really fun experience, but
Yes.
I am well aware that what was fun for me was an enormous amount of work for you and the crew.
Yes, but I'm used to that type of work. I've
Yeah.
done, I was on board with Reader's Digest for 8 or 9 years of doing art direction. So I was involved in a lot of publication outside of Reader's Digest because they're just like an umbrella. They have all sorts of different magazines underneath. So I'm used to the production aspect of putting a magazine together.
Okay, so that's something that you use what I've come to discover as a very gentle hand of steel. Would that be a right way to put it?
Yes, it's a
keep
process. So you need to be aware of the process, and you just need to, work with a work-back schedule and get things done when they're supposed to get done, and send to print, distribute, and
Which is not always such an easy thing when so many people are involved.
yes.
Right. So is the guide more of a challenge or the expo that you've been doing? Oh, yeah.
The expo is more of a challenge.
Where did that come from?
It came from the guide.
Oh,
so
yeah?
isn't that weird? Yes. The idea of the expo came from looking at the guide and thinking, you know what, we have all these organizations and all these companies and businesses in the area. Wouldn't it be great to have that under one roof for a weekend? So that's how that started. And we were at the time with Jean-Marc Lalonde Arena. And we had it there for a few years. And I started that pretty naive. So I thought that it would be as easy as putting a guide together. Because, you know, like ad space equal a booth space. So I was at the same time doing another big project. I was project managing the plowing match in Prescott Russell for Prescott Russell. So I had, it was an enormous amount of work putting that project together. And I only had a month and a half left to fill up the space for the initial expo. So I went into a bit of a panic mode and I called somebody to help me out, and that was Odette Sommer. So I said to Odette, you have all the contacts in Clarence Rockland, you were working for newspaper in your prior life, can you come and help me out? So Odette gracefully accepted.
She took pity
on
on
the
you.
challenge, yes.
Okay.
And she basically just sold whatever needed to be sold for the expo to be a success.
Okay.
So that's how we did the first expo.
So you did 2 expos a year? 1 expo a year?
Initially, we started with 1, and then we thought, hey, maybe we could do, we were doing it in the fall. And we thought, well, maybe the springtime would be a good time also, try to do both. One targeting, the Christmas holidays and trying to get that type of exhibitors to come and present their product. And then have the one in the spring, so that it would be more the landscaping, like the stuff that you sell in the spring. So we did only 1 double year, and we found that it was a lot of work. And also that the exhibitor, because we have such a small basin to work from, that it was hard for them to be there twice a year. So then, everybody's got staffing issues and all this stuff. So we went back to the 1 time a year, and we made the move from Jean-Marc Lalonde to the arena, the Clarence Rockland Arena, the CIH.
It's a very popular event.
Yes, it is. It's a great event.
An enormous amount of work for everybody involved,
Yes.
the exhibitors and you, but people show up, and it's a place to network and chat and see what's going on. So you are all right. If you are an event organizer, you're a graphic designer, you're a mom, you're a good friend. How do you fit it all together?
I don't know. I've always juggled projects. So that's part of who I am, I guess. I'm, it's like, I don't know, I've always had that in me.
Yeah, you don't like sitting still. You don't like not having
No,
something
because
on
I'm
the go.
always thinking up of the next thing to do, or wouldn't that be great, and try to put it together. So I'm a bit more, I would say, over the last few years, I've had my son late in life. So I've had to restrain myself because, I cannot be always organizing or doing.
Yeah.
Like he needs time with me, and I have to have time with my family. And he's also really into soccer, so now we're starting to do all this competitive soccer with him. So yeah, life is changing slowly towards a more relaxed, if you want, lifestyle. So not as many projects, but that's okay.
Everything goes through phases, I find. And who knows, maybe someday he's going to be joining you in the business.
He could really well be, just the way he is.
He's got that same artistic bend, that
Not
ability
an
to
artistic band, but he's sales-minded. He's he loves people.
Okay.
So he's very, very.
That's a tremendous asset to have these days. Or,
Yes.
well, it's always been a tremendous asset, but maybe it seems a little more rare these days in our digital age with so many people being able to function without human interaction, without direct human interaction at least. So
Yeah.
somebody who's got those skills
People
really stand
skills.
out.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So many of the things we used to take for granted now become special.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's not got your artistic interests, no?
He does a little bit. He surprises me once in a while.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we had something before the holidays where he just, on his own, he decided to draw logos. So he just went crazy. He went on Google Images and he's finding all these logos. Look, Mama, I did Burger King. Look, Mama, I did BMW. So it was cute. Like he's really, and it was pretty good, actually.
You know, I really envy that because I'm of an age where all of this technology still seems magic and a little bit beyond my reach, and kids your son's age just take it very much for granted, but you're somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And you've been able to master it. It's not something that seemed so natural to you perhaps when you
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, and it's curiosity. So for me, that's my big drive is curiosity. How things work, why are we doing it this way? Is there a better way out there? So right now I'm doing UX design, some UX design courses. So that's pretty much, for the curious and okay, let's try to make this easier for people to use this software or for people to do this website or...
I don't even know what UX design is.
It's the interaction. It's how you interact with, it could be, UX design is used for cameras, it's used for anything that you're using now. So it's trying to limit the friction between the user and the product. So that's what UX design is.
Okay. See, I don't even use apps.
You don't need to use apps. When
I
you
don't
go
need to use
online,
apps.
you go to Google, there's human interaction right there.
Yeah, okay,
You know?
good, all right. I was worried that I'm missing out on something because I'm a stubborn dinosaur, but...
But that's the one thing, is that you have to open up your mind. In order to be able to evolve with the technology, you cannot stay stubborn, because then you're not going to evolve with technology and you're going to be left behind.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that I think that I learned over the years, because initially we used to use the same graphic design software and think, yeah, another update. I don't feel like doing this update. Why should I do update? But now everything is automatic. Everything's updated as we go. So there's no more fear of, things are going to change. So you have to embrace change and want to go with change.
Well, it's certainly something that you have to do in your line of work. I don't really need to do it that much in my line of work, but it is fascinating. And the final product is fascinating. And I've seen some of the work you do, and it's amazing to see how you can capture something beautiful, something that's a quick message, something that the things that you have to take into consideration. It's real art.
Yeah,
it's not technology simply.
No, it's not technology simply, but it's not real art either, because you always deal with, in my case, oftentimes I deal with clients. So the client will dictate what they want. Rarely do you have free reign, do what you want, build me what you want, do what you want. That's a dream,
Yeah.
But it's going to be within certain restraint, and you have to somehow make it work for them. So.
Yeah.
As with art, you have the total freedom. You're not doing it you're just doing it for yourself. You're doing it to put a message across to your, people that want to buy that art. But you're not restrained. As when you're dealing with a client, you have to go with what they would want. So make the logo bigger.
Yeah.
The typical stuff that graphic designer here,
Yeah.
you have to compose with that.
And is that a difficult thing to do? To get the, are there situations where you and your client just cannot understand each other, or at least you can't grasp what the client wants, or what the client wants is so wrong and you can't tell them?
That's the
It
way
happens,
it goes. That's
yeah.
life. So you have to deal with it, and you just grin and bear and
And
move
that's where
on.
your people skills comes in handy.
That's it.
Yeah,
Because frustration, of course, you'll have frustration. So you have your idea made up, and you think that this is the best thing since sliced bread, and then somebody else doesn't think that way. So you have to adapt.
So there's been the graphic design, there's been the expo, there's been the Clarence Rockland Guide, and gee, weren't you involved with TVC 22 at one point too?
Yes.
Yeah, you kind of brought it into the digital age.
Yes. It's very interesting because initially I went to college in radio, television. So my dream, if you want, was to be in communication, but like in front of a camera, or I don't know, I had this vision of being a reporter. So, but this then came about, like family situation and stuff happened, and my life took another turn. And now, years later, the TV reappeared in my life, and that was kind of pretty cool. And this TV station was not doing that well at the time. Unfortunately, there was not that many members of the board. There was no board actually. So I was asked to come and help out with the restructuring. So we did that. I brought some nice people along that were, specialists in their own field. And we just put a plan together and put that plan to work. So today we have TVC 22 as we know it, because that plan actually was put in motion and worked, and we were able to hire, good technicians. Merci, Francis. And
That's Francis Lavoie, for those of you who know him.
Yes, Francis. And yes, it's a complete change for the TV station, and I'm very glad that I was a part of it.
Well, I see this TV station as a kind of a little mustard seed itself, because going back in the days of its initial creation with Robert Pilon, it started as a beautiful idea with somebody that had to learn on the job.
Yes, of course.
And after many, many years of that, you finally have to let the job take on its own. So he was lucky to find you, for sure. We're all lucky that he found you, because there were a lot of changes in those first few years.
It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. And now you can come to this beautiful studio.
But that's the effort that one needs to have. I think when you see the potential in something, you really, if you're willing to get involved, I think that's the way I am. It's my personality. Is I don't do things halfway. So if I get involved with something, I'm just going to push it as much as I can and try to make its best version happen. So and if I don't feel that way, if I feel that things are not moving along, I'll just retreat and go do something else. You know what I mean? Like it's just. But with the TV station, I really pushed it. That was my second job, really, for quite a few years, trying to reorganize it and making it what it is today. I was lucky to stumble onto Stephanie because,
yes.
Like finding Stephanie was like finding a needle in a haystack. Really, she was able to take it on and just run with it, and that was the best thing that could have happened to this TV station, is to find someone like her.
Well, in many ways, she's kind of a mini you. She has that same approach to push everything to the limit until get it just right, hire the right people.
But the younger generation, when you were talking earlier about how the fear of change and all this stuff. I still have that in me because of my generation. I'm not far behind you, and I see with Stephanie, who's a millennial, the fear of change is totally gone. Like they don't have any fear of change. So it's funny how
good point.
This generation is just like, let's try it, let's do it.
Yeah, there are so many possibilities, and it's like they are going out and looking for change.
Yes.
Which is not always a good thing in and of itself. So it's good that they have the balance of wiser heads like
and
ours.
even
sometimes.
even in UX design, it's part of that, like how the products are now put into our website or anything. It is just put out there, and then they just wait for people's reaction on it, and then the second version of that takes all the input from all the users, and then you create the perfect. As before, we used to perfect things. You know, we used to, let's not put this out there. It's not perfect yet. So we worked on it, and it was an effort from the owner or from a small group of people trying to make something perfect. But right now, it's not that model anymore. It's let's put it out there, let's see the reaction, let's work on it from that reaction.
More interactive.
Yeah.
And the technology allows for that.
That's it.
And that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And hopefully the educational system is going to pick up on that. And
Yes.
let students not just sit there, but also interact. And I guess it's probably happening in many classes with some of the more enlightened teachers. That's maybe your next incarnation, your next project.
A teacher?
No, not the teacher, the school board. The school board. You never know, right? That much we learned in our lives is that change is always going to happen.
That's it.
We may resist it, but it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, you got to embrace it.
And without it, we just don't...
You don't grow.
You don't grow, exactly. And we do want to grow. We want to grow old, and we want to grow wiser. Anyway, you know, this has been a fascinating interview. I learned a whole bunch of things about you that I didn't know. And although you gave up the career of being in front of the cameras, I think maybe it was a loss to the cameras. Because you did just as well in front as you always do behind the scenes. So thanks so much, Annie,
you're
for
welcome.
coming in and doing this. And now we get to go back to your horses and me to my dogs.
That's it.
Yeah. Balance everything out, because it is all about balance and harmony, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Nice seeing you. Thank you for the interview.
My pleasure. And I hope that you've all enjoyed this, and next time you see Annie on the street, you can ask her about anything, as you can see. If she doesn't know the answer, she will find it for you or tell you where to go and find it. All the best. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for watching.